Alright, so now we're going to do letter H on the top of page 82. Looking at letter H, again, we want to focus on our steps, which is create positive features first, then your negative features, and then your fillets and your chamfers and those things. So on this one, let's focus on the first positive feature, which is kind of this L-shaped piece or sideways L-shaped piece. On this one, we are going to go ahead and leave this fillet to do at the end. That's a large fillet, but that's okay. It's a little bit easier to do it at the end. And we are, however, going to put this fillet down here, or this rounded portion down here. All right, let's look at this at Fusion. All right, to get started, we're going to go Start, Sketch. We're going to put our sketch on this front plane right there. And now on that front plane, we're going to draw that shape. I'm going to start the shape over here. I'm going to click there. I'm going to drag my first line down to about here. Now once that one's connected, we're going to do something a little bit different here. Go back here and hover over top of this position. Click and hold your mouse button. And notice what you can do. You can draw a nice little arc. So we're going to draw it over to there. And then we're going to draw it straight up. Once we let go, we're going to come straight up. Over. Back up to straight in line with that one. And across. My computer's lagging a little bit here. Come on, computer. Oh, no, that was weird. Okay, there we go. All right, so there I got that. Now we're going to put some dimensions on this. We're going to start by dimensioning this rounded portion. We're going to dimension it 2 inches. Or, sorry, we're going to dimension it 1 inch radius, which makes it 2 inch diameter. We're going to put this portion on here at 1 inch tall. From this side over here to this side, we are going to make that, if I remember correctly, come on, computer, it's lagging here a little bit. I think that was 4.5 that we did that at. And then from the center point of that circle to this top side, I think we made that, maybe that was 3. I'm trying to remember the measurements here. It might have been 2.5. All right, so we're going to make that 2.5. And okay, so now that's all constrained on the size. Now we just have to get in the position. So we're going to go our horizontal and vertical constraint. We're going to go to the center point of that circle to the origin. And that slides over there side to side. Up and down, there's really not a good way to get this perfectly centered. So we're going to go from this corner to that point right there. Now, notice that has that all blue. Now, when I did mine here, I didn't get this line constrained. You may or may not have. If you didn't get it constrained, this line is blue, there's a reason for that. Let's grab this corner where it's blue and see what happens. Notice what that line of that circle do. It goes there so where those don't touch there, that one point. Where they don't touch in one point, that's called, or where we want them to touch in one point, that's called tangent. These two are not tangent to each other. When you created this arc, it may become tangent, it may not, just depending on how you clicked. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a tangent constraint. So we're going to come up here and find my tangent and make that line tangent to that circle, and that made it all blue. If it's the one on the other side that's not tangent, go ahead and make it tangent on that side, but just add in whatever constraints you need to get that thing all black. Once it's all black, you're going to go ahead and finish your sketch. You're going to go ahead and go extrude. On this one, we're going to extrude it one direction. We're going to go distance, and we're going to go 0.75. I'm going to come in this, oops, come on. I'm going to come in this direction, however, from that back surface. We're not going to go symmetric. So actually, I'm going to need to go minus 0.75 for mine. And right there we go, and that looks pretty good. All right, from here, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and go start a new sketch. We're going to start that sketch up here on that top surface. And here on that top surface, we're going to draw a circle. This is going to be our second positive feature of this. We're going to draw a circle about right there. Again, just similar as what we did just a moment ago. We want this circle to touch this line up here at the top at one point. So we're going to make that tangent there. So we're going to go tangent to that top edge. So now that circle's locked in there, but it does still slide side to side. With that, we're going to use our horizontal/vertical constraint and constrain the center of the circle with that corner. Oops, and I must have misclicked. There we go. So we got that. Now our circle can only change size. We're going to go ahead and dimension that circle. Oops, I did not dimension that circle. I clicked on the wrong thing. We're going to dimension that circle. And when I look at this thing, I think this circle is larger than this diameter here. So we did this before as a 1-inch radius or a 2-inch diameter. So I'm going to make this 2.5. So I'm going to come over. Whoops, I clicked on the wrong thing. I'm going to come back over here. We're going to make that 2.5. And there that is. We're going to go ahead and finish that sketch. And we're going to extrude. When I extrude, I have to select the object to extrude. It typically doesn't auto-select here. When I do it, I just want to select just this portion. I don't want to select this portion also, otherwise it'll overlap those parts. It will accept it, it will do it, but later that can cause you some issues. I know on the 3D printer, it causes an issue there where the 3D printer actually has to fix that issue. If we try to create our drawings without those issues, it's a better thing. So I'm just going to select this portion, pull it down, and again I'm going to go on this one. I think I went minus 0.75 again. Oops, minus 0.75. And join that and go OK. And there we go. That's got that. And okay, so now we're ready to add in some of our negative features. First, I'm going to start by adding this hole up here to this position. To do that, we're going to use the hole command. Now, when you're putting a hole in a circular object, it's a little bit different. Because you typically are going to want that centered up in the center of that circular piece. So we're just going to go up here and use our hole command. You're going to click on the surface you want to put that hole on, which is the surface. And then if we click and hold on our center point, notice that center of the cylinder is showing up. You can drag it over there and let go, and it locks it right there on that center point, which makes that very nice. So now we're going to set the size of our hole, and I think 1.5 I think is appropriate. So we're just going to go OK. All right, so that looks pretty good. Oh, and I did forget one thing though there. Let me go back to that hole. We want to make it sure it goes through all. So I just went back down here and double clicked on it and make sure your hole goes through all and OK. Now, we do have one other small problem, and this is a little bit of a design issue. Notice as the hole goes down through, it hits into this arm of this thing that goes back there. So it's cutting out part of that arm. That's not a great design. We really don't want that there. We want this to be one flat surface, not coming on through there. So that's really not a very good design. So what we need to do is we need to modify this so it doesn't intersect with that. Few different things we can do. So first off, if we change the size of our hole, it'll pull our hole out of there a little bit. But the thing is, we still want to keep this in somewhat proportion with our other drawing. So to keep it in the proportions of our other drawing, I don't think we can go just really tiny on that hole. So let's go ahead and just change this hole down a little bit. To do that, remember, we're going to come down here and click on our hole, double click on it. All right, well, 1.5, let's drop it down to 1.25. Okay, notice it still intersects there a little bit. The next thing we can do to change up our design a little bit is let's make this cylinder a little bit larger. So if the cylinder is a little bit larger, it's going to force that hole in a little bit. So again, we have to remember where we did that size of that cylinder at. If we hover over down here, okay, it's this position, this extrusion here, but the size of the hole is not an extrusion, it's in the sketch. So we're going to double click on our sketch and change the size of that hole. Let's go up 1/4 inch in it. It's at 2.5 now. Let's go 2.75. Change that up just a little bit larger. Let's finish our sketch. And now look at that. Very nice. It doesn't intersect with there. And that just helps the design a little bit. This is just helping you see the power of being able to modify and edit things so easily in Fusion. All right, let's move on. We're going to do our slot here in this surface. To do that, we're going to come up here to Create Sketch. We're going to put on this surface, create our sketch there, and we're going to create a slot. All right, with the slot, there's a lot of different options on the slot command. The center point slot is going to work for some of your things, so other sketches or drawings you do today, maybe that. But for this specific one, we're going to use center to center. Center to center, I'm going to come down here and click there, come up there and click there, and put that slot into place right like that. Now with that, I happen to get this slot picked right on the center point of this arc, which is good. If you wouldn't have got that picked there, and the center point of this slot moves around, then you're going to use another constraint. You're going to use a concentric constraint. So if this point is not locked into place, you're going to come up here, you're going to pick concentric, and make this circle concentric with this circle, this arc concentric with that arc. Doing those two will make that locked in there in position just as mine is. All right, next we're going to go ahead and give the size of that piece. Set to 1/4 inch, I believe it's too small. Set to 1/2 inch, I believe it's too big. So we're going to go in between. We're going to go 0.375. That sets it to where it's 3/4 inch across, all the way across. The radius is 0.375, and I think that looks pretty good. The thing we have left here is the length of this, so we're going to add in a dimension for that. From there to there. Oops, I misclicked one of them. There we go. We're going to add that into maybe 1.5. Let's see what that looks like. It looks like 1.5 is a little bit tall. Let's go maybe 1.25. There we go. I think that's more appropriate. And we're going to add that there. So let's finish our sketch there. All right. Now let's go ahead and go extrude. We're going to extrude that portion there. We're going to change this to a cut. And the distance we're going to go is all. And now notice it's still going the wrong way. You can either grab the arrow and pull it back, or notice over here, there's this thing that says flip. We can flip it. It goes through the other part, cutting all of it. We're going to go ahead and go OK. All right, that looks pretty good. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add in some fillets. So we're going to go F for fillet, or you can come up here to modify and click on fillet, either way. Oops. So I'm going to go F. I'm going to click on this corner, and we're going to fillet that a pretty large radius. Let's try maybe 1.25. I think that looks pretty good. Nice little 1.25 fillet there. Now the thing we have left is this. We have this little tiny corner here and this one here to fillet. Now this bottom of it, we can't see where this is thicker than this portion on this drawing, but we're also going to fillet that bottom corner underneath of there. So let's look at that here in Fusion. So we're going to go fillet again, F for fillet. We're going to fillet this underneath side right there. This inside right there. And then as I said before, this one that we can't see in our other drawing, that corner right there. Going to fillet those three corners, and we're going to fillet those at 0.25. And now that really looks pretty good. Let me put this in a nice symmetric view. I'm going to twist this a little bit this way. This looks a little bit more like the handout. And let's critically compare this to our handout. All right. So on our handout here, this arm here I really think looks longer. If we look here in Fusion, look how stubby this is. We got to modify that. Again, this is the power of Fusion. That was way back in our design. If you think about it, where did we make the length of this? It was actually back in our first sketch. So we're going to come right here on our first sketch, double click on it, and let's add some length to that. Let's add maybe an inch to that. Let's go 5.5 instead of 4.5. Okay, that. Now look at how that's stretched out there. Look at our handout. And you know what? I think it really looks pretty good. So there that piece is finished and looking okay. Now what I want you to do is go ahead and save this piece. Get in a nice isometric view here, something like that. Looks very similar to the handout. Save that as P82 top, and I believe, isn't this H? Top H, I think. Let me double check that. Sorry. Yes, top H. And that'll be great. Save that. Now, what you're going to do for your other part of this assignment is you're going to create two other parts that get connected to this. So you're going to look through your handout, and I have a big list on the class website of ones to choose from, and you're going to pick one of these other drawings to draw. For example, if I picked letter K, I'm going to make this outside size of the cylinder of letter K match this outside size of the cylinder here. I'm going to make the hole match the hole, and then I'm going to draw a piece K and make it fit in right here. I'm going to create it as another part, so I'm going to create another file, and create it on a new file, and put that right into position here. I believe I have one here that looks like that. So there it is, put into place, that part K. Later, altogether, next time, we're going to look at putting these pins into place and putting them there. What I also want you to do is create another part that's going to fit on here. So you're going to look at your handout and try to figure out what other part. It might be G, or it might be E, one of those parts that fits in there. Good luck and have fun.